We're on. Okay, Gemini, you're going to hang around for a while, and we are going to go through Yale Cabaret Hollywood. You can jump in if you want. See, Yale Cabaret Hollywood is an informal theater company of Yale School of Drama producing cabaret theater in Hollywood. Well, this goes back in time and starts therefore at August the 1st of 2024. It talks about the site closing down at that point, and this is the historical archive of Yale Cabaret Hollywood. It was under playsondvd.com YCH. Then goes back to production on October the 3rd of 2020. Sunday, October the 3rd. This is one of Bob Barnett's, certainly his latest effort, and it was at my encouragement, called The Greenhouse Determination. Folks can read it from the screen for all the details on it. It was done here in North Hollywood at the Whitmore Theater Center. And Bob had this idea of a future Earth where there were people, God, if I remember, living below Earth as well as on top of the Earth, and sort of you were in the middle of it. Some of the folks who were involved in it were Amanda Carlin and Will Dixon, Greta Young, and Fred Saunders, and more. And I was shown as producer, $10 required for that, and how to get in touch with Yale Cabaret Hollywood. The next one that's talked about here is on December the 20th of 2020. Gemini, I'm going to probably just do this on my own, but thank you for everything you were helping me with there. Was a terrific event that occurred around the year-end holidays. The two playwrights involved here were again Robert Barnett, was how he frequently went, and another board member of Yale Cabaret Hollywood, who was Diane Azamo. Diane brought in something that her family did with a bunch of puppets that saved the Jewish people, and a diva in distress, I guess is what that word is supposed to be. It was really funny because it was done as a Zoom because everybody was still under COVID, and they did a puppet show. It was really wonderful, called Hanukkah in Spite of Pandemic. And then Bob brought in something from the Judeo-Christian end of things, Ye Old Miracle Play of the Nativity. And, fun was had by all on that one. Then we go back to September 20 of 2020 at 1 p.m. Los Angeles, 4 p.m. New York time, 9 p.m. London. We had some friends in London who were also kind of keeping theater alive by doing their stuff on Zoom. Hiroshima's Daughter by Robert Barnett. Later on, to promote that same play, we ended up giving the small amount of money we had left with Yale Cabaret, as we put it down, to him to promote a reading of Hiroshima's Daughter in New York later on. And I'm scrolling through here. You can read this. Alma Cuermo is notable that she was doing it out of New York. The first actor named here, among others. It's been great, really, working with all of the wonderful Yale actors as well as non-Yale actors and local Hollywood and local New York on all of these plays. And again, I'm scrolling it so that someone could read it, or you could pause it anytime you'd like if you want to get deeper into something. September 15th, 2019 was another Bob Barnett play. Robert was the chair, the head guy at Yale Cabaret Hollywood before he moved back from Hollywood, or from Los Angeles to New York, and then I ended up picking up the baton as and called myself um, the head. What was the head I had? The chief executive officer? No, I went beyond that. Board chair, the board chair of Yale Cabaret Hollywood. As I said, Diane was also on the board, and so was another gentleman we'll run across in a minute, and I'll wait till he's in a play. He's an actor. Let's see what we're doing here with Bob's play. Bob's play is this time The Cell by Robert Burnett. Again, this was done over here in North Hollywood at a theater on Magnolia called the Whitmore Lindley Theater Center. I frequently provided the images for the plays, and this is an example of an image that I made for this thing about Argentina's dirty war. Fred Sanders also is a Yale graduate, but not from the drama school, and a fine actor, and does a lot of stuff in readings of books. Anyway, he was the director for this. I produced it. The admissions, again, $5 or $10 was what we did in order to keep some money in the kitty in order to do stuff. Then we go back to May 2018, May 6th to be exact. This one was the first and last meeting of the Antisocial Social Club by Sharon Stockard Martin, who is another Yale playwright, not part of the board for the record, but definitely a close friend. At the Sherry Theater, which is a little closer to me, where I live typically, than the what is it called, the Whitmore or whatever. Sherry Theater is also on Magnolia over here in North Hollywood. Reservations, again directed by Fred Sanders, and Fred's got sort of a little company of people that he frequently recast for things. Okay, well, and then we're going to October of 2017. Yale Cabaret, Sleeping with the Dead, another Bob Barnett play. And this one was done, however, in Hollywood. Hollywood has this sort of off-Broadway area that's more or less off of Santa Monica Boulevard, and one of the venues there is the Complex Hollywood. And we did it at one of the studios there. Let's see, Kurt Stein, directed by Fred, and featuring his troupe. I'm trying to see, is this, again, this play was Bob's Sleeping with the Dead. This could have been a two-person play, but apparently it only had one actor at the time that I published this. Notable is assistant producer Shuli Rayberg, and she and I were going together for half a dozen years. Goodness knows, having somebody else work with you on dealing with producing is more than handy. May 2017, Thursday, May 25th, 7:30. This is Dr. Arthur. Oh, this is good. Dr. Arthur's Goldman's Birthday Party by William Lodell. Now, this is another small theater. I don't want to call it called extended family, if you will. The Coffee Gallery backstage in Altadena. I do remember doing a couple things in Altadena, and one of them is led by another fellow we'll meet later. It's about a birthday party of a 70-year-old gentleman called Arthur Goldman. Directed by Nick Horman, a hell of an actor and a really good director who worked with us frequently. Again, we'll find him connected to other interesting people. And this is some of that group or mini community around Nick and William Liddell, and I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm going to go on from there. There'll be reoccurring folks that we hear about later. February 2017, we've got Yale Cabaret invited to Mr. Wolf by Pavel Hall. Pavel Hall and I have done some playwriting together, and you will find a reoccurrence of Pavel, a man who has an obsession with Adolf Hitler, appearing in many of his things, and I gotta imagine Mr. Wolf is probably representative of what a character inspired by Hitler. 1948, not recognizable, Shakespeare's. Okay, more about that. In South America, allegedly, where a lot of the folks who were Nazis ended up. And who do we get to? Diane Roeder. Goes by other names. I think I usually get her down here as Diane Roeder. Also is a director for us for many things, and was willing to do some stuff that other people said, I don't know if I'm interested in that. And was a great friend. Performed and composed by Missions and so on. Back to October of 2016. Yale Cabaret invites you to a live reading of God by Another Name, again by Bob Barnett. This was at the Dory Theater Complex, again one of those things that's at the off-Broadway of Los Angeles over on Santa Monica Boulevard. I think they do call that something like Theater Row or whatever. What else we got? Fred's doing the directing again, and maybe when I published it, we had no actors yet. That's because I don't see any listed here. Back to May of 2016, Yale Cabaret Hollywood by a live reading of Grip the Raven by Jim Nobble. This is so long ago, it's kind of hard for me to track, but if I recall, Jim Nobble was a more recent playwright graduate of the Yale Drama School, and we ran into him and were pleased to do his show about Edgar Allan Poe and Charles Dickens. Pardon me. There was a meeting that really happened. This was derivative of that. Laurel Flanagan, another director that we work with. Her connection may have been through the playwright, but I'm just guessing. This is a little fuzzy in my mind because, after all, it was a few years ago. On the other hand, in February of 2016 at the Lounge Theater, this actually was a performance of a play that I produced, probably not under Yale Cabaret Hollywood, because of the fact that Yale Cabaret Hollywood was just an informal organization whereas I had a limited liability company that that I probably produced this under. And Next Level Projects was sort of a sub name that I gave that in order to make it happen. This was a wonderful play. It was not a Yale playwright. It was by, come on, there's the director. Where's the act? Where's the who done it? Where is she? Okay, so anyway, let's go with directors since I'm looking at it. Shanna Rosenthal, terrific director, featuring, and this does require a huge cast of women playing lesbians, except for one, who they are all in love with. It's really funny. I really wish that the author would have cut the number of characters to something that was cheaper to produce. But worse than that is there it is, Allie Davis. Allie Davis, connected with Second City in at least as a visiting member or something like that. Going on, 2015, October. Okay, October 4, Yale Cabaret Hunter invites a live reading of Red Ink by Stephen Lee Morris. Stephen Lee Morris was the head editor of the theater department at the LA Weekly, one of the many organizations. The LA Weekly used to be, golly, over a quarter-inch thick, and have a great backing on theater and reviews and so on and so forth. However, it was done in by the coming of the internet, and as like a lot of other magazines and newspapers died. And this story is about its problems as it moved into things. Again, on May 2015, we're seeing Saturday, May 16th, 8 a.m., Yale Cabaret Hollywood and Vibes playing. This is Speak Now again as a reading of Allie Davis's plays. This also describes it a bit more than when it actually goes into production. Production probably lasted a week, I suppose. Just the economics of it didn't justify doing any more of it at that time. I think I asked Allie if she did want to rework it and do it at a later time, and she wasn't interested. Okay, that goes back to February of 2015, where we have a live play reading of The Tuskers by one of my favorite people, Barbara Bragg, who is an actor and teaches acting as well, even at some really well-known venues. And her father was a writer of cowboy stories. To make this even longer, this is on backstory. This was presented by her, and this one is. I'm trying to see if there's just a plain old reading. This eventually ends up as a play that's presented at a museum here in town, and was reworked for that and made more appropriate for a modern audience than the stuff that came straight from the usual cowboy stuff that her father wrote. Anyway, lovely production. Okay, this gets us into October and November at the Pico House co-sponsored by El Pueblo Historical Monument. This is related to Day of the Dead, the Mexican way of expressing All Saints Day in a little different way than Halloween. Maybe not a little bit differently, but I guess I'll just refer you to the Disney film that covered that topic of it. This play, though, is by Diane Asimo, and is and directed by Corky Dominguez. That's connected directly to East LA. Again, another theater community. This being mostly folks from the current. East LA is associated with Latin or Hispanic or folks, and they have a great theater activity going on over there. We got together with them and ended up really working this with not only having performances at the historical locations in that are in not in East LA, but are in downtown Los Angeles at a venue that you will, if you go to my YouTube channel, which is where you may be seeing this, you'll also find some promotional stuff there about that specific production. That gets us back to 2014, reading of Bob Barnett's One Good Tree, another good play by Bob. And I'm trying to see if there's anything notable about it, like where it was performed. The Lark Gallery, probably an art gallery, and boy, are they tough to work with because of the vibrations you get in the room and echoes and whatnot, but we did a lot of those. Yale Cabaret Hollywood's, here's the William Liddell community again doing Red and Scooter. We're now back at February 8th of 2014. John Lorden worked as an associate producer or assistant producer on many things, and I see his name was involved with this one too. And that gets us back then to the Day of the Dead. Got readings before it started on this. Free. Do not confuse this with the play produced in 2014, please. Well, I bet you, though, it was being developed at that time. Getting into September 2013, there's a change of date. Yale Hollywood invites a reading of Victor Kuffel's play Brick at Berg Studios. Berg Studios refers to a gentleman who played the role of Gandalf in A Hobbit that I produced. And all of this, by the way, does bring us to the point where that was what was on the first page of the website. You're going to notice that there's a link to an archive of the previous season's listings, and maybe I will make a video of that before this goes down. But for the record, Yale Cabaret Hollywood had its roots around the turn of the millennium, actually in the late 90s, and that story's going to have to wait for that video. In the meantime, thanks for listening to this if you got this far.